Every gamer's been there. Your old laptop starts wheezing like it's running Crysis just to open Chrome, your FPS tanks, and even Minecraft feels like a slideshow. So here's the plan. I'm building a cheap eBay gaming PC that any student could afford. No RGB, no fancy cases, just pure budget performance that hopefully doesn't catch fire. Now, I'm not a total beginner. I've picked up a little experience from watching way too many PC build videos on YouTube, but this is my first time going all in, piece by piece from scratch. The question is, can a bunch of cheap secondhand parts actually come together to create a real gaming machine? Let's find out. Okay, so here's the deal. I'm setting my budget at under 200 bucks. That feels like a fair middle ground. Not too cheap that it's junk, but not crazy expensive either. Now, I'm not including shipping, since that depends on where you live. We'll just focus on the actual parts. If you're the kind of person who hates using a screwdriver or getting your hands dirty, sure, you could just grab a pre-built SFF desktop, plug it in, and call it a day. But honestly, that's way too easy for me. I'd rather pick out every single part myself and build this thing from the ground up. That's where the fun really begins. I listed out every single part I'd need for this PC and started digging into research, comparing CPUs, motherboards, GPUs, and checking benchmarks to make sure everything was actually compatible. After what felt like forever, I finally had everything ready. So here's the lineup. I've got an Intel i3-9100F for $22, a 2 heat pipe CPU cooler for $10, and 16 gigabytes of RAM, 2 8GB sticks. That cost me $50. Kinda pricey, honestly. Then there's a 256GB SSD for $15, a 400-watt power supply for $17, an H310M DS2 motherboard for $30, and finally a GT X10 60-3GB that I snagged for $47. But tragedy struck. The GPU showed up with its plastic shroud cracked and one of the mounting tabs completely broken off. I had to literally tie it together with a piece of plastic wire just to keep it from falling apart. All in all, the total damage for this budget build came to about $191. Oh right, I almost forgot to mention the case. I picked it up for just 10 bucks. Super plain, no RGB, no fans, nothing fancy at all. It's basically an empty metal box. But hey, it does the job. So that brings my total to 201 bucks for this entire build. If you found this video helpful, or at least entertaining, go ahead and drop a like. It really helps the channel out, and maybe helps me recover from spending my entire lunch budget on this PC. This video is basically a quick beginner's PC build guide. Simple, clear, and straight to the point. Since everything I bought was used, obviously there were no boxes, no manuals, nothing. So my instruction guide was literally YouTube videos and a ton of pausing and rewinding. Alright, let's get to it. First up, the CPU. It's going right here. I pull down the little retention arm. Wow, that's actually tighter than I expected. Lift it up, open the socket cover, and there it is, a tiny triangle on one corner. The CPU has one too, so you just line them up perfectly and drop it in gently, no pressure at all. Honestly, this part always freaks me out. I give it a little wiggle to make sure it's seated properly and everything looks good. If you can't find the triangle, you can also align it using the notches on each side of the CPU. Then, close the cover, push the arm back down, and lock it into place. I thought this would be easier, but yeah, it took more force than I'd like. Still, we got it in. Installing the RAM is way easier. Once you've got the right type, you're already 90% done. All that's left is to open the 2 clips on the slot, line up the RAM stick with the notch in the middle, and press it straight down until you hear that satisfying click. That sound means it's locked in perfectly. Now it's time to mount the CPU cooler. I'll place the bracket so it lines up with the holes, then secure it using the 4 pins. Next, I'll apply a small dot of thermal paste right in the center of the CPU, carefully set the cooler on top, and push down both sides of the bracket until it locks firmly in place. All that cooler work means nothing if you forget to plug in the fan. Look for the header labeled CPU fan on your motherboard. It's usually near the CPU socket, and connect the fan cable there. Next up, it's time to mount everything inside the case. First, don't forget to install the ISO shield. It keeps dust and random objects from getting inside and shorting things out. Before placing the motherboard, check for any sharp or raised metal inside the case that could poke or scratch it. That's bad news. Then, make sure all the standoff holes match the screw points on your board and secure it tightly with screws. One more thing. Pay close attention to the PCIe slot area. If the GPU isn't firmly supported, it could wiggle or even crack the motherboard later. Next up, the power supply. This part's pretty simple. Just place it in the case with the fan facing downward, then secure it using the 4 screws on the back. Now, here's where things get a little tricky. The cables. You'll need to tell apart the CPU power and GPU power connectors since they both look almost identical with 8 pins. Here's my trick. Check the label on the connector. If it says PCIe, that's for the GPU. If not, it's for the CPU. Once you've figured that out, just plug them into the right spots. Your power setup is done. Next up, it's time to hook up the storage. I'm using a SATA SSD, so I'll need a data cable that plugs into the motherboard, plus a power cable from the PSU, just like a traditional HDD setup. Before installing the GPU, let's connect the USB and audio headers from the case. They're labeled clearly, so just match them to the right ports on the motherboard. As for the power and reset switch, I'll leave a diagram here to make it easier to understand. Now for the final step, installing the GPU. This part's easy. Slide it into the PCIe slot, plug in the power connector, and screw it into place. And that's it. Our PC build is complete. It's not flashy or RGB packed, but it gets the job done. The video is getting long, so I'll save the Windows installation for another time. Now, let's finally enjoy the reward after 3 hours of hard work. Starting with CS2 at medium settings. This game leans heavily on graphics, but in this case, it's the CPU that's really doing the heavy lifting. The system delivers an average of around 140 FPS, with 1% lows gradually improving over time, meaning performance stays smooth and consistent. You can easily take advantage of a 120Hz monitor for buttery smooth gameplay. Power draw is surprisingly low, roughly 90 watts for the whole system. Overall, it's incredibly stable. No noticeable frame drops even during intense firefights. Moving on to a much more demanding game, The Witcher 3. This one's pretty heavy on graphics, so I'm keeping it on low settings. And the result? Around 60 FPS, which feels perfectly smooth throughout most of the gameplay. It's not 100% stable, and sometimes it dips down to around 30 frames per second, but those moments are rare. I'll fast forward a bit so you can see just how consistent the performance really is. Now let's move on to Minecraft. At 8 chunks, it's pulling nearly 500 FPS, which is super impressive. But once I fly up high and look down, this little 4-core, 4-thread CPU really starts to sweat. The frame rate drops sharply, sometimes dipping as low as 100 FPS, and you can actually notice a bit of stutter. When I crank the render distance up to 32 chunks, the FPS drops even further, down to double digits. That's probably the limit of our $22 CPU. Switching to shaders, it starts around 60 frames per second, but can't keep it stable for long when the scene gets complex or I spin the camera too fast. Next up, a AAA title, Black Myth Wukong. I'm keeping it on low settings and the result isn't exactly great, around 20 FPS on average. The gameplay feels choppy and hard to play, especially during combat. It's probably hitting a VRAM bottleneck on the GPU, so we can't expect much better performance from this setup. So, after putting everything together and testing all the games, I'd say this $200 eBay build turned out way better than expected. Sure, it's not perfect. Some games push it to its limits, but for students or casual gamers, it's an absolute steal. You get solid performance, easy upgrades, and a ton of learning along the way. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to drop a like if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.